Are you looking for unique challenges to try out in FC26 career mode? That's what I'll be covering in this video to give you some interesting ideas for your next save. From the more common to the completely unique, here are 15 types of career mode saves that you can do in FC26. You might have already tried out some of these ideas, but I guarantee that there will be something in here that you haven't tried yet. So let's start with the journeyman save. Unlike a lot of saves that people start with just one club in mind and whatever they want to achieve with that club, this will be kind of a traditional real-life manager career where you take over preferably a smaller club, try and achieve success with that club, but ultimately the aim for you is to move on to a bigger and better club and try and work your way up the footballing ladder, eventually taking over some of the top teams in the world. Maybe that could involve you winning all of the major leagues in the world, trying to win the Champions League, trying to win the World Cup with a national team. The idea is that you won't stay in one job for that long. And with the new manager market being introduced in FC26, if you haven't done this save, this is probably the best year to do it, because with these changes, it will be a lot easier for you to move across different teams. The same kind of applies with the Pentagon challenge. This is similar to the Journeyman challenge, but it comes with its own unique challenge. That is where you need to go to 6 different continents in the world and basically win the best trophy that you can. So for Europe, you need to win the Champions League. For Asia, you need to win the Asian Champions League. For South America, you need to win the Copa Libertadores. Now, ideally, in FC, we would have the continental competitions for every continent in the world, but unfortunately, we don't have that for every continent. So for North America, all you can do is win the MLS. When it comes to Africa, there are no leagues in the game, so you could maybe try to win the World Cup with Morocco or Ghana. And then in Oceania, again, there's like no nations or clubs, but Australia is kind of part of that continent depending on how you look at things. So maybe you could go and try and win the Australian League, but ultimately the aim is to have success in all 6 continents of the world. Now, in previous games, I would say that this challenge isn't really possible because of how the old manager offers system worked, but now again, with the manager market, it means that you can move across the different jobs a lot easier and kind of pick the path that you go on in your career. So if the Pentagon challenge is something that interested you in the past, I would definitely say that FC26 is the game to do it. The next challenge is one that's a little bit more popular, and that is the youth only challenge. This is where you only use youth academy players in your save, no real life players. You take over a club or create one, and the squad that you start with, you essentially need to replace those players with youth academy players as soon as you possibly can. Different players have different rules when it comes to this challenge. For example, some people want to just use the youth academy, others are okay with buying regen players on the transfer market. That goes down completely to your own personal preference. It's also your preference whether you want to start out with 3 5-star scouts or whether you want to build up the scouts gradually. That is your personal choice. I would recommend with this save to be in a league where the clubs in the league are rated in the 60s. That means that the youth players that you bring through won't be completely below the standard of the league and also not too high either. Next up, we've got club and country, and again can heavily involve the youth academy. This is where you join a club, and then with the youth academy or even real life players, you prioritize one nation where you try to develop youth academy or real life players of one specific nation. Over the years, on the side, you'll be building up a nation of your choice to be one of the best in the world. Hopefully within the game, you get a job offer to take over that international team as well, so you can basically develop the players of that country within your club career, and then your international career, you can use them all together and try and win the World Cup or the Euros with that nation. This next choice is a little bit similar, where it's build a league. So you take a league within the game, preferably a smaller one, and you try and build it up as much as you possibly can within a 15-year save. So for example, you could take maybe the Swedish league. You would start with one club and develop them as much as you can in as little time as you can, either with the youth academy or smart transfers. When you've got that club to a good standard, you'll leave them, go to another club in the league, and then try and take that club up to a similar standard or try to overtake what you had built at the previous club. And you keep doing that until you have a really strong league to compete in. Next up, we've got a blueprint career. This is where you take a team from the past and try to recreate them in FC26. So for example, you're a Man United fan and you miss the Alex Ferguson days. Well, you pick a certain season in the past, use the exact tactics from the manager, and try to bring in players that fit a similar mold to that team. You could, for example, pick Man United in the 2000s under Alex Ferguson, play a 4-4-2, have an English striker like Wayne Rooney, and an English right back like Gary Neville, an Englishman and Serbian centre-back partnership like Ferdinand and Vidic, a tricky winger like Ronaldo. You basically try to recreate the personality of that team as much as you can in FC26, with the ability ability now to use icons within career mode as well. You could potentially bring back some of these players and put them in career mode. But yeah, essentially this is just using the tactics from a historic team and trying to put in players that accurately fit that personality. Here's one that I kind of just made up, and it's kind of in the name, but best to worst save. So this is where you take one of the worst teams in the game, either one of the teams from Ireland or India, and you have to try and make them a 5-star team, make them one of the best teams in the game. It's definitely a save that's going to take multiple seasons. This next one I'll call Mission Impossible. It has a similar theme, but this is where you take one of the worst teams in the game, or you create one of the worst teams in the game, and you put them in one of the hardest leagues in the world, whether it be the Premier League, La Liga, Bundesliga, and you have to try and survive in that league. You can maybe give yourself one transfer window to use your small budget and try to improve the squad as much as you possibly can. You could even give yourself a points deduction if you want. Like, the whole point is to make the challenge as difficult as possible and see if you can potentially survive in that league. And if you do get relegated, you could maybe try to rebuild the club in the second division. This is something I tried a few years ago using an Irish club in the Premier League, and after finding career mode too easy previously, this save definitely was not easy at all, and I actually failed and got relegated. But having challenge does make the game way more fun, so I feel like something like this save could be one that you will enjoy. A rebuild save is probably one of the most common within FC26, where you take over a club that's maybe not doing so well and you have to try to rebuild them, try and build up the squad again and get them back to what would be success for that club. You could do a completely realistic save where you take over any club of your choice, but you need to rebuild the team and achieve things in a realistic manner. That includes making realistic transfers, not spending too much money, or having a youth academy that's better than what it is in real life. That would include selling players when a better club comes in for them. Realistic is 100% the way to go, but unfortunately with FC26, you do have to make effort to make career mode realistic. I will make another video about what steps I do to make my saves more realistic, and I can say from my own experience that it makes the game way more interesting, challenging, and fun. The complete opposite of that, if you want to just have a short-term save, you can always just take over one of the best clubs in the world and just win as many trophies as you want, sign all the best players, sign any player that you want. Again, it's one of those that if you just fancy something that's really easy, take over Real Madrid or PSG, whoever you want, and just create your dream team in the quickest manner possible. Live start points is definitely something that I would recommend using in career mode. This was a really good feature added last year, and with this I would just keep an eye on real life football and see which scenarios unfold, which clubs are struggling and are in a really bad situation in the league, see which clubs are going to have a challenge to save their season, and try and jump in that position and try and do the impossible, either saving them from relegation or winning the league after being 10 points behind. A live start points career mode save will be more and more challenging the later on in the season that you go, but this is definitely something to keep an eye on in case any scenarios happen in real life that you find interesting. When it comes to create a club, you could maybe create a club that isn't in the game already, whether that be one of the smaller clubs in England that you want to add to the EFL, maybe even like a hashtag United, or a fallen EFL regular like Scunthorpe or Morecambe. Also with Create a Club, you have got the fun possibility of creating a fictional club, whether that be AFC Richmond or your local Sunday League team, where you want to put you and all of your mates in one club in FC26 and try and win the Champions League. The possibilities are endless when it comes to Create a Club. And finally, we've got the Director of Football save. There are many channels on YouTube that have playthroughs on the Director of Football side of things. It is probably better to do with mods where you can actually change the managers within a club, but as you'll be playing no matches with this kind of save, it's more about instilling a philosophy into the club that you're taking over. Obviously having control over the transfers, because that is what a Director of Football does in real life. But like I say, there are different channels on YouTube who talk about how you can instill this kind of save in the best way in career mode, so I would recommend having a look. But yeah, those are all of the career mode save ideas that I have for now. Let me know in the comments if there's any saves that you personally have done that you would recommend to anyone. It'll be interesting to hear what your thoughts are. If you enjoyed the video, a like would be really appreciated, and subscribe if you haven't already and you do enjoy FC26 content, because I've made a lot of that on my channel already and there's much more to come. So yeah, thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.